This episode of Unscripted Turbulence is sponsored by Dude Wow Cocktails. Bold flavor, no extra ingredients. One must be prepared for this experiment I'm about to do.
Thank you.
All right. So, we're going to talk all things. Are you ready for this? Okay. All right. So, welcome to Unscripted Turbulence. I'm your host, Raegan Medgie. And before we get into the nitty-gritty, if you are a follower of mine, if you're watching, this may look familiar. If you're just listening, just stay tuned. Because I'm trying to assemble something. I'm starting an experiment. And my guest is eagerly awaiting. All right, here we go. Okay. My experiment, if you know me, this will sound familiar.
I'm usually stirred, but
Oh,
okay.
you like it stirred?
It's okay. Do you.
Well, it is my podcast, so I guess I can do me. Okay, so my guest today is Nelson Aspen.
Hello, darling.
Eagerly awaiting. So we are going to pour.
Eagerly awaiting what you're about to pour.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh, we're on rations today, I see. Okay, that's okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look too bad.
It looks delectable. What gin are we using?
Oh, this gin is my favorite gin. Now, it's not sponsoring me.
Yet.
Oh, that would be great. I will tell you my favorite gin, Martin Miller's gin. Now, I know you're a Beefeater person.
I am.
Okay. So the reason why we are pouring and shaking martinis is because Nelson and I love us some martinis.
We
and
do.
I thought, you know what? Why not celebrate our friendship?
And we can pretend it's 5 o'clock. Cheers. Oh, lovely.
All right.
Thank you
Oh
for
my
this.
gosh, this is
to your
so wonderful.
podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
Right?
Thank you, Martin Miller.
Oh my gosh.
Not to be confused with Martin Milner. Do you remember the actor Martin Milner?
No, I don't.
No, I have all this useless trivia in my head. I'm sorry.
You're going to fill me in on a lot of all things. So I, in the beginning of my podcast journey and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I actually was going to. So I have a series on Instagram called Martinis with Medgie, as you know, and some other people who have followed me know. And I was debating my podcast be something like Martinis with Medgie, the Chatini Series. I didn't do it, obviously. I did Unscripted Turbulence, which I think is so apropos with everything that I've gone through. But you're my guinea pig. Because I'm going to try this Chatini series, see how it kind of shakes out, or for you, stirs out.
What's the worst that could happen? We're having a drink together, two friends having a drink together, and we can have a little unscripted turbulence while we Chatini.
Oh, we will. Okay, so now, yes, for those listening, watching, I am speaking and sipping with Nelson Aspen.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So Nelson and I tell everybody, I like to kind of give people a sense in how we know each other. And I actually did some digging today. And I went back on my Instagram account. And you reached out to me January 12th, 2024. I had been at WABC at that point about a month. And
yeah, I saw a feature you did, and I was impressed, and
Yes.
I popped you a note on social media.
You did. And it was about two hero cops who were meeting the young woman they saved like 20 years later. And she ended up becoming a cop with the NYPD as well. And I actually watched that video. Now,
That's
Nelson,
a great story. That should be a series. That would be a great series.
that would be a really great series. I know this is kind of
Sorry.
bear hug around the microphone. So I actually watched that, and Nelson has a history in TV, Broadway. I mean, he's done it all. I like to say he is New York City in my orbit. It is fabulous. And so anyway, I watched it. And I don't know if you feel the same way when you watch your old clips of things.
I can't watch myself.
Oh, you can't?
It'll be a miracle if I watch this. I just don't watch myself.
Really, you know what? I never did either. But this one was a special one, and I actually got choked up by my own words. It was neat. It was actually really cool to see it again. Anyway, so Nelson and I would just talk back and forth, and then he says he's in the business, and that kind of once you say you're in the business, there's I feel like a sorority fraternity kind of you understand each other, and in a level that maybe people who
I think as I recall that segment and seeing you and being motivated to write to you was you were working at WABC in New York City, and I have friends there. Yeah. Amy Freeze is an old friend. Michelle Charlesworth is an old friend. Phil Lipoff, who's no longer there. Amy and Phil aren't there anymore. But and I'd been in a few times to appear on Eyewitness News with them, talking about entertainment or whatever, what have you. Lots of colleagues at the affiliate KABC in Los Angeles. So when I saw you, I had a sense of family just from the beginning. And because of my 30 years in morning television, I understand what it takes to make good product. And your product was very good. And so I felt compelled. As I get older and older, I feel more and more compelled to share that sort of, I don't know, old man kind of expression, just to sort of usher in the next generation.
It is so great. And I mean, open arms accepted it. So, and I'm glad because then we ended up getting together and he took me to the Harvard Club, which I love some New York City history.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. And I proudly say I'm their only college dropout member. And I didn't even drop out of Harvard. I dropped out of Hofstra on Long Island. But I married well.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I mean, Nelson was taking me through. I mean, any place that has that much history. Oh, wow. I mean, if the walls could talk.
The Gilded Age, which is one of my favorite shows.
And you told me to watch it, and
they've actually filmed at the Harvard Club before because you don't even have to use CGI or anything. It just looks like the Gilded Age.
Oh, so now Nelson, as you heard, had dropped out of Hofstra, and he's had, I want to say you almost have like a cat with 9 lives, but maybe 18 lives. I mean, you are so layered, and we're going to dive into it. And you wrote several books. I'm currently reading the second volume of, I want to make sure I say this, Dancing Between the Raindrops. I don't read a lot. And I think it's because I was, when you're on TV, you're constantly reading.
And she brags about it.
I don't read a lot. So now I have a little bit more time, and I thought, nah. And I, for whatever reason, I am mesmerized by New York City in the 70s and 80s. I was born in 1980. I'm not saying that to age you. I'm just saying it like I'm just a child of the 80s. So for me, there's something so funky about the 80s. And when I would be in the news trucks with my photographers, they would talk about how wild the city was in the 80s. I
still listen pretty exclusively to 80s music. Like that's, to me, that's the muzak of my generation is to, listen to Madonna and the Go-Go's and B-52s and Soft Cell, et cetera. But I moved to New York in 1980. I had just turned 17.
Oh.
And the drinking age was 18. So, at 17, 18, it didn't matter. So I had access to everything as a 17-year-old. And it was quite extraordinary because where I lived in the roach-infested environs of Hell's Kitchen, it was all XXX theaters. It was all burlesque houses, tranny bars, hooker bars. I mean, it was really rough. Yeah. But to me, a little farm boy from Pennsylvania, it was Oz. And it coincided with my coming out experiences.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that.
But yeah, I mean, it was a wonderland. And I consider myself a New Yorker, even though I had to take a 22-year hiatus to live in Los Angeles for my job. Mm-hmm. I was the Hollywood guy. I was the showbiz guy. So it dictated that I was in Hollywood. I have no regrets about Hollywood. It gave me my career. I made wonderful friends. I had wonderful relationships, pets, house, all that stuff that goes with L.A., the weather. But I say 22 years, you get less for murder.
Yeah.
But I did it. And now that I'm back in New York, I returned triumphantly in 2012.
Yeah.
It really was coming home. And I we'll see how things evolve in the coming months and years. But I'd like to think I will live out my days in New York City.
Oh, I love that. So, like to start with your title and then where you're from. So what
You may call me Lord. No,
Lord Nelson. Let me take another sip of my martini. Pinkies up, my friend.
What is my title? Do you mean my
your
my
title
show
now.
business moniker? What I would say?
Yeah, I mean, like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? And then we'll back into everything.
I guess my LinkedIn profile would say multiple award-winning author, journalist, singer, and speaker, because that's primarily what I do now.
Okay.
I crank out books. I do speaking engagements. I sing when anybody's interested in hearing me sing and tell stories.
And you've got a great voice, I've heard.
And that's what I do. So
Okay.
actually, the first time we met in person was at one of my musical cabaret experiences to promote my Titanic themed book.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
And I remember you showed up for that, which is in itself a triumph that you know, in this world of flakes, and COVID only exacerbated people's ability to be flakes. Because COVID gave everybody an instant excuse to say, I'm not coming at the last minute. You know that?
Oh, that was easy.
That became a
Get 'em,
COVID thing. Automatically I can get out of whatever. I'll just use the excuse I might have COVID. But it created a mentality as if people weren't unreliable enough. But COVID gave everybody permission to be unreliable.
Yeah.
So just the mere fact that you said you were going to come to my show and actually bought a ticket and showed up sealed the deal for me.
Oh, thank you. And you know, you had invited me to another cabaret. I think it was 4th of July. Again, I look back at my Instagram, like, you know, the receipts.
Did you ghost me?
No, because I was waking up the morning show, and I remember telling you, like, if I don't have to work the next day, because the morning show and I've talked, you know, every now and again I sprinkle my little experiences of the morning show in, but you know, when you're a local TV news reporter in the morning, your whole world is upside down. So you have to think almost like 2 days ahead and 2 sleeps ahead. So Nelson was having an event on Sunday. I'll never forget this. It was a Sunday, and I had to think, all right, well, if I have to work early that day, which I believe I did in the morning show, waking up at like 1:30 in the morning, I get out by 10 in the morning. If you're at 3 in the afternoon for this cabaret and I have to work the next day, I have to be in bed by 6. So if I would come out to that 3 o'clock, then I'm screwing myself the rest of the week because then I just have catch up for sleep to do. So it was a whole thing, but I didn't get to that one. And it was with your friend with the blonde hair.
Allison Briggs.
Wow.
So great. Yeah, that was our Tony Bennett tribute show.
Yes. And my parents love Tony Bennett, and I wanted to go to it so bad.
I did an interview with Tony in his Central Park South home apartment. He had a separate apartment that he used as a painting studio. And I had this amazing bespoke interview with him about his painting. And I sat on that for many years, and then he passed away. It was very sad. But the minute he passed away, I called my friend Allison Briggs, who's a very gifted singer, and said, we have to do a Tony Bennett tribute show. And not to imitate Tony Bennett, I wanted to just sing his arrangements. So I had all of his arrangements. Plus I had this interview with him. So in between songs, I showed clips of this interview where you get to know the man beyond the public image, you know, the private man. So it was a really extraordinary, one-of-a-kind opportunity. And Allison took on the roles of Amy Winehouse, Judy Garland, Diana Krall, Amy Winehouse. So she on all these amazing Tony Bennett arrangements. So we still have that. We still trot that show out, the Tony Bennett tribute show. Yeah, because we have the arrangements and we have this incredible interview. People don't realize Tony Bennett liberated concentration camps. This was not just a singer. He was a soldier. He was a war hero. He was a painter. He grew up in Queens, actually, and he opened a high school for the performing arts there. And he did not name it for himself. He named it for his buddy, Frank Sinatra. The Frank Sinatra School of Performing Arts in Queens is founded by Tony Bennett, is named for Frank Sinatra. So that's just the kind of guy he was.
Oh, wow. I mean, if you're watching or listening, now you understand why I can't get enough of this guy. So let's start from the way beginning. Where are you from?
a little town called Westchester, Pennsylvania, which isn't so little anymore. Now, QVC moved to Westchester, and it just changed everything. Now it has a little private airport, and it probably has a Whole Foods now.
Yeah, right. Once the Whole Foods and Starbucks come in, then you know.
It was a very idyllic place to grow up for me. I was born in 1963, talk about a small town. My father's doctor's office, his first doctor's office in Westchester, was catty corner from the hospital where I was born and where he practiced, and catty corner from the school where I went from kindergarten to 6th grade. So I was conceived, born, and educated on the same block.
Wow.
So consequently, when I graduated from Bishop Shanahan High School in 1980, I was like, get me out of Westchester and to New York. I was like, that Valley of the Dolls opening scene where Barbara Parkins is on the train and you're hearing Dionne Warwick sing, gotta get up, gonna get, she's getting out of her little town to go to the big city. And that was me. I had to get to the city.
Really?
And
not Philadelphia? You didn't want to go to Philly. You want to go to
Philadelphia is not the city. To me, it's not.
Yeah,
it wasn't the city.
Understood. Yeah,
So,
I love me some Philly because I went to Temple University. So,
my dad went to Jefferson Medical School. My dad was the last horse carriage milkman. He put himself through medical school as a milkman. Oh. They don't even have milkmen anymore. But he's so old. He wrote his milk truck was drawn by a horse, and it was the last horse-drawn milk truck in Philadelphia. So you'll forgive me if I had to get the hell out of the city of brotherly love.
Yeah,
I found some brotherly love when I got to New York.
Oh, geez, here we go. I knew we were going to get into that. Get the teenies flowing. We're going to go in. Okay, so this is, I guess, where it starts getting good. I mean, not that it wasn't good growing up. Brothers, sisters.
I had a lovely childhood.
Yeah. So then, do you have brothers, sisters?
I have 2 half brothers and 2 half sisters.
Okay. So
It ain't the Brady Bunch.
You can go wherever you want to go with that. So you left, you go to the city, and you were, what you said, 17 when you... Now, mind you, this is where, if you get his book, and I'm not promoting the book, I'm just saying...
Well, you should promote the book.
I guess I should.
I should.
Well, you should. You can. But I will say, every night I look forward to reading this book because I think, where is Nelson taking me now?
Yeah. And it's filthy. It's filthy. It's for grown. It's definitely for adults.
Yeah, it's not for kids. It's just, there's some things I'm like...
And it's not just because I had a filthy life. It's also because one of my mentors, professional mentors, was Jackie Collins, the novelist Jackie Collins.
Are you kidding?
No.
All right, so now I see it.
And Jackie Collins, who I met when I was a struggling actor, I initially met her. I was working in a bookstore, one of my many survival jobs. And I encourage everybody to take survival. I don't care if you're, king of the world. You should still take odd jobs because you're never going to meet and have the experiences that you have unless you do weird offbeat things. I was working in a bookstore. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I interviewed James Cameron, was because he was doing a book event and they needed an MC for this book event. That started me down the Titanic road, which is another story. But Jackie Collins came in to check her inventory of her titles in the store. And she got out of her limousine, marched into the store, went over to the C section of fiction, and then made notes, went over to the manager. You don't have enough of this title. Why is the spine facing out? It should be the cover facing out. She took charge. And later, when I started doing my celebrity interviews for a living and I was interviewing her, I would tell her that recollection. And she said, you have to take charge of your own business. You wrote the book. Don't rely on anybody else to sell it for you. You have to take charge of selling your book. And that also means you carry a case of them in the trunk of your car. You can't be afraid to handle cash. You can buy somebody dinner, but if they're going to get your book, they better hand you a $20 bill or whatever the book costs.
Yeah.
You don't give away your work.
Oh, it's like intellectual property, right?
And she taught me to always put a little sex in it. Because when people are prudes and say, oh, I don't want to read that graphic sex, I don't want to read that, they're lying. Mm-hmm. They want to read it if for no other reason than to judge you and say, how dare you make me read that?
I will cheers to that.
Cheers.
I will tell you.
I wish I were left-handed. I'm having trouble with this.
I know. We got to redo this, I guess. But so All right. So let's start with, okay, you get to New York and...
Well, I went to college. I went to Hofstra, which is on Long Island, New York.
Okay. So then that was your...
But I had a car, and so consequently, Hofstra was 40 minutes from the city. So my studies were non-existent. I was constantly in Manhattan.
Right.
And my father, God rest his soul, after 2 years of this, of just, basically failing because I was spending all my time in Manhattan instead of school. And I said to Dad, I want to be an actor. What good is being a drama major at school at this stage of my life? And I, had already graduated early. I was like, could I please move into Manhattan now? I'm going to get a job as an actor quicker if I'm in Manhattan than if I'm stuck studying for 4 years. And he said, very wise man in hindsight. He was not in the arts. He was a doctor, as I said, very macho, ex-Navy guy, did not get me at all. But he adored me. And that's, the best thing a parent can do. Yeah. And he calculated what it cost him to send me to college each month. And he said, okay, that will be your allowance. I'll do this for 1 year. I'll give you an allowance once a month for 1 year. And if you're not self-sufficient in show business in a year, you'll go back to college.
Holy crap.
So it was good because I'm disciplined, and I've always been disciplined. But it gave me a timeline. And I had a calendar on my little shithole of an apartment wall. But every day I marked the X over the day so that I knew I had a finite amount of time to get my career going. And in the 11th month, and I was doing all sorts of crazy jobs and having crazy experiences, but in my 11th month, I got a job on a soap opera, and that saved me from having to go back to school. And
isn't that wild? The 11th month.
Yeah. And my mom was visiting me at the time. And I remember in those days, you didn't have cell phones. You didn't have answering machines. You had an answering service. And you called in to your answering service twice a day to see if you had any auditions or anything like that. And I remember calling into the answering service, JU6 5300. And they said, oh, yeah, they called you for that. Search for Tomorrow was the soap opera. And my mom was with me, and I remember being so excited I jumped into her arms. And it was one of those primal moments. I remember my mom, who was not a young woman at the time, actually was holding me in her arms, like off the ground, because we were so excited.
Yeah.
And I've worked ever since.
So you took odd jobs, and I like to bring this up because, sometimes when we decide that we want to take that jump or that leap, and, we try as hard as we can to either, save up for that moment or whatever, and you really want to do something. Like, you had it in your mind that you wanted to be an actor. Nothing was deterring you from that. I'm sure you had some self-doubt maybe here and there, will I be able to do it? But you took some small jobs. I mean, the fact that you did what you could to survive to get to that next step.
I had Depression-era parents. So, so at the risk of sounding like I'm cheap, I'm very frugal. And I'm very hardworking. I want to earn my money. I want to save my money. And to live in New York City, even in the 80s, you needed money. And I wasn't going to take money. There was nowhere to take it from. My dad supported me for that first year.
Wow.
But I needed to survive. And I have a work ethic. I'm not afraid to work, whether it's in a clothing store or a bookstore, or then I ended up teaching aerobics. And I always say, and I started teaching aerobics because I had gained weight and I didn't want to be heavy. And in those days, there was a candy called AIDS. No kidding. The candy was called AIDS, AIDS, to help you lose weight. Then when the real AIDS came along, they had to stop selling the AIDS candy because the commercials were, I lost weight with AIDS. I'm not kidding. You can YouTube those commercials. So I decided, I'll join a gym and I'll take aerobics and lose this weight. And I ended up having an affair with the aerobics instructor and decided, he was offered a job teaching aerobics in Italy at a health spa, and he wasn't going to take it. I'm like, were you kidding? Wow.
And that really happened.
Yeah. I'm like, I would take that job.
In his book, by the way. In his book.
Yeah, everything in the book is true. I've changed some names to protect the guilty, but it's all true. But I became an aerobics instructor just to get the free trip to Italy and to lose weight. And when I was there, I found a new way to make money, and it was performing. Being an aerobics instructor was performative. And I became very popular, so much so that I was hired to train Princess Diana in step aerobics.
Okay.
So I went off to London to train the princess in, how to step up and down off a step. And I got vetted and all that stuff. I get there to London, and then they're like, okay, no, you're not going to train Diana herself. You're going to train her trainer and the staff at her gym instead. And I was like, I am taking my mullet and my hot little bike pants, and I am going in there, and I will teach them step.
My mullet?
I had a big, huge mullet. I looked like a lion. And so they had me on the morning show while I was in town to demonstrate the princess's new workout.
And what was this morning show called?
It was called This Morning.
And this was in Britain?
This was in Britain.
Okay.
And they
And how old were you at this point? 'Cause I like this timeline.
This was 1991.
Okay.
1991, give or take 6 months in there somewhere. And they loved me. And they said, we would like you to be our entertainment correspondent from the States. They just liked that I looked cute in my bike pants and I had the mullet. So, and I was a kid.
Mullet.
I was a kid. So that was my first TV job. And then I segued to a different morning show in Britain called GMTV, Good Morning Television. And I worked for British Morning TV for 10 years. It was very popular. You talk about the getting up at the, crazy hours. I was living in Los Angeles by now. So to broadcast to the British morning show, I would go into the studio at 11 at night, and I wouldn't wrap till 2 in the morning. So I would get home and get in bed, and it would be 3 a.m. And I'm a real morning person. I'm not a fake morning. I like the actual morning.
Did you run today?
Yeah,
I was thinking about you. Yeah, you get up at what, 6 to run?
I get up as soon as the sun is out. Sometimes I'm usually waiting for the sun. Oh. But anyway, I did the British show for 10 years until the phone rang one day, and it was an Australian morning show that was launching. And the executive producer was very clever and looking at different morning shows internationally at what he liked and what he thought worked. And he saw me on GMTV and said, would you like to come and do our new Australian morning show? And I said, well, I never would quit an existing job. It's just not in my ethos to quit a job, no matter how inconvenient the hours might be, or if I was unhappy, which I was not unhappy. But I said, well, what time would it be for me to do Australia?
That's right.
And he went, noon to 3. And I'm like, seriously? I would be on the air, my time doing a morning show, from noon to 3? So I could have my own morning in Los Angeles, roll into the studio at 11, and do the morning show from 12 to 3 and be out for happy hour. I was like, sign me up. And I did that job for almost 20 years, 5 days a week for almost 20 years, just shy.
And what would you...
God bless Australia.
Oh, how... Were you, it was a remote thing though, right?
It was live via satellite. I went into a studio every day and sat in front of my green screen. But then eventually it came into where I was doing all the celebrity interviews. I was covering all the events, whether it was a red carpet or a celebrity death or a trial or an arrest or whatever. So I was in the studio most of the time, but I got to travel a lot and do a lot of exciting things. And it was a dream job for 20 years. But like any dream, you got to wake up sooner or later. It did end. And I could not have imagined while it was happening what I would do if I didn't have that job. I identified so much of my own self-worth with that job, which happens. I mean, it happens in any career and any profession. And I was my job. I missed 3 of my grandparents' funerals because of that job. I missed every Sunday for 20 years because of that job. Because Sunday was Monday in Australia. Yep. So my work week was Sunday through Thursday. And I didn't know I was unhappy the last 2 years of that job. The post-COVID 2 years. Right. Because I didn't know anything different. I didn't know anything different than that job. And it was my identity. And I would never in a zillion years have walked out on that opportunity. And I didn't realize I was unhappy until the job was over. And then I was like, hey, I'm glad it's over.
Isn't it interesting that when, you get, and, we could speak of TV, but other industries, you get sucked into this cycle of what you have to do. You hit all the notes. You wash, rinse, repeat. At that moment, you're happy about it. You're fulfilled by little sparkles of either people coming up to you saying you're doing a great job, or little messages of people saying, oh, you really impacted my day by XYZ live shot or whatever. But it isn't until you walk away and you start really seeing, wow, there's certain things that hit you. Like for me, it was...
Well, you can live without it. You can live without...
Yeah.
You're not as insecure as you may think. You can live without that... I don't know,
external validation at times. And you could live without the lack of sleep or the Sundays. Not having a Sunday.
Yeah, every day is that. I still can't identify what day of the week it is because I every day is, and that's a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Every day is blessedly the same for me, and it's happy. It starts with running. It usually involves writing and a great meal. Like I have a very, very happy life and that job, those TV opportunities gave me all those opportunities. And here I was, and that's in the Dancing Between the Raindrops books. The lesson that I learned was here I was trying initially to be an actor and a singer. Through the magic of a morning show, I've sung all around the world. I was asked to do a one-man concert at the Sydney Opera House. I've interviewed every celebrity. I've traveled the world. I'm still traveling the world doing speaking engagements. Now I'm a Titanic historian. I put on my speaking voice and I go and I talk about the Titanic. So yeah, it's a miraculous thing, the power of television, but it's also the power of opportunity. Say yes. What if I hadn't worked in that bookstore? What if I hadn't been an aerobics instructor? What if I'd stayed in college and just studied drama?
Isn't that interesting when you look back and if you would just surrender, if more people would surrender to the opportunities that come their way?
Well, and there's also a rigidity, and I appreciate the discipline that comes with this is my plan and I'm sticking with it.
Right.
But unscripted turbulence comes along and you can either, okay, here comes the turbulence. We can fasten our seatbelt and ride it out. Mm-hmm. Or you can, I don't know, maybe don't fasten your seatbelt and enjoy bumping around a little bit.
Just don't spill a drop of martini.
I don't know. A flight attendant friend of mine who was an aerobics student, she was a flight attendant. And I said, when it gets really turbulent, doesn't that scare you? And she said, no, it's like a ride. She enjoyed the unscripted turbulence. And now whenever I'm in a plane and that happens, yes, I buckle my seatbelt. But I also I always remember her and think her name was Julie. And I remember Julie enjoying the ride.
Yeah, my husband, Pilot, as he's known, always says when you hit turbulence, what it is like driving over a road with potholes. That's all it is. So enjoy that ride.
Yeah, it all worked out.
So you mentioned something earlier, and I did want to dive into this because I just think it's the story, the way you say it, is when you decided to come out. And you talk about it in the book. Yeah. Right?
I didn't really ever decide. I had to tell my parents.
Right, so that moment.
Yeah, I had it was the 80s. My husband always laughs at me. He's like, that's your excuse for everything. That's your excuse for all your bad behavior. It was the 80s.
Well, I mean, really,
80s.
that's what I hear as somebody who is too young to experience a full-fledged 80s. So,
but yeah, I mean, I had a girlfriend in college, even though we were all, teenagers and having fun and everybody was sleeping with everybody just because it was the 80s. And I really liked this girl, and it felt normal to have a girlfriend. It was exciting to have a girlfriend, and we thought we were going to get married. And my mother was like, "You're too young to get married. Don't get married now. You have your whole life, and you've got to work on what you want to do."
And how old?
I was 17, of course, 18, I think.
Yeah,
of course, it was ridiculous.
It's the butterflies. It's
but it was fun. I was playing grown up. I was playing fiance. And when I told my mom I wasn't getting married, she burst into tears because she was so happy and relieved. And she goes, "What made you decide that?" And I said, "Well, because I'm gay. Like, I realized that's why I'm not going to get married." And so then she kept crying, but it was for a different reason. And she was like, "Well, it's not that I don't have a problem with it. It's just your life is going to be harder," which was you could still say that. You could still argue that. Certainly as a parent for your child, you could argue that. Mm-hmm. And then she got very guarded and she's like, just don't tell your father. And I thought, oh, what?
Yeah.
I can tell my father anything. He loves me, whatever. And I told my father, and he did not take it well. As supportive as he's always been, and we worked it out. It took us a while to work it out. But may I curse on this show?
You can say whatever you want.
But his exact words to me, and this is in the book as well, he said, get the fuck back in the closet. I was 23 years old. And I was so wounded. My beloved father would say this to me, feel that way and say that to me. And it took us maybe a year to work it out. And then, but I treated it the way back then everybody smoked cigarettes. And there would be non-smoking sections and smoking sections. And if somebody was bothered by a cigarette, if you were polite, you went somewhere to avoid getting smoke in their face. So I treated my being gay like smoking around my father. He didn't like it, so I didn't talk about it. I cut off this whole side of me when I was around my dad so it wouldn't upset him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want me telling my brothers and sisters or grandmothers or anything. Like, it was to be a secret from the family, and maybe even professionally in his mind. But I had my life in New York where it was open and it was great and I was having fun. But I treated it as a courtesy with my dad and my family. And I think that this is in the book. I've sort of rejigged it in
I want
the
you to talk about it because I think, and I want to backtrack a little bit before we get into that. When I said you decided to come out and you said it wasn't a decision, what is the better way to say that?
I never felt like I was necessarily in. I just sort of, because I was very spoiled by my parents, embraced everything I did. They didn't pressure me to be a doctor. They didn't pressure me to have a girlfriend. They didn't pressure me to do anything except be happy. So I naively assumed they'd be okay with anything, including my sexuality. Right. So it just sort of segued as I grew up and started experimenting with girls and experimenting with boys and, what it was going to be. And I decided, that I was gay. I didn't decide. I just realized.
Like you realized.
I realized.
And you wanted to be truthful to your mom and your dad and say, hey.
Some people, and everybody's journey is different. Some people know when they're 2. Some people don't know till they're 50 or 80 or, whatever. So it all worked out. So.
Okay.
But we kept it, I kept it on the down low from my family.
Right.
Whatever. And then I remember, I don't even know what year it was. It was in the 90s. So this went on for some time. And in the 90s, one of my nieces was getting married.
Okay.
And I had a partner at the time in Los Angeles, a male partner. We were very happy at the time. And to go to the wedding, it didn't even occur to me to take my partner. I took a female friend to the wedding. Taking a friend. We're going to have a great time. And we were having a great time. And my dad, grandfather of the bride, he was so overwhelmed with family, happy, patriarchal joy. And my dad and I have always been tactile. Like we don't avoid hugging.
Yeah, like affectionate.
Yeah. And it was, everybody had a bit to drink. My dad was very happy. And I'm hugging my dad and we're almost dancing at this wedding. Yeah. And he said something like, I love you. And I'm like, yeah, I know you love me. I say, that I really shouldn't be here with my lovely female friend. I should be here with my roommate. And my roommate is not my roommate, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, would you just let me tell people? And it was right time, right place, right scenario. He was like, oh, yes, anything for you, my son, my lovely son. Boom. I was like, okay, Dad, see ya. Boom. I ran around that wedding reception. I had 4 siblings and a bunch of nieces and nephews, and I hit every one of them in rapid succession. Hey, you, I'm gay, just so you know. Boom. Hey, you, I'm gay, just so you know. Boom. Hey, you. And I just went around the reception. Coming out to everybody. Half of them knew, half of them didn't. So, it was all fine, but then it was over with. And flash forward, 30 years to my father's deathbed. He lived to be 93, and there he was, our last hours together. And he was I hadn't married my husband at the time, but we were together. And he was waxing on and on about how much he loved my partner and how we should be together. And I thought, you know what? You don't get off the hook just because you're dying. And I said to him, I'm like, Dad, do you remember when you told me to get the fuck back in the closet? Aren't you glad I didn't? And like, but I that's the kind of stuff that wakes me up in the middle of the night. Like, should I have said that to my dad as he was literally in hospital? He was at home in his favorite chair watching Fox News, but he was,
that generation likes that, yeah.
His pit bull at his feet in his chair watching the TV. And I like, should I have brought that up at that time? And I thought, yeah, I'm glad I did for my own, like he heard it, he understood it, and he loved me, he loves my husband, and yeah, it needed to be said. I don't know.
It's almost like you said it for your 23-year-old self who was told that
Maybe.
at that time.
I just think you sort of do have to take responsibility for certain things, and that I survived that. I survived him doing that to me. And he had his families are complicated. We all know how families are. But my dad had his issues with his own dad. So I'm sure when your final moments are facing you, you think about that stuff. So he was certainly a better father to me than his father was to him. He did a great thing for me as a teenager. He arranged for me to meet my idol, my movie star idol, Carol Lynley, my favorite actress of all time. I was obsessed with Carol Lynley.
And for somebody who doesn't know,
she was a sex kitten of the 60s, but she was also she was a star of my favorite movie of all time, The Poseidon Adventure. Oh. And she sang The Morning After. She was the hot blonde in the orange turtleneck who sang There's Got to Be a Morning After, won the Oscar for Best Song. Anyway, my dad arranged for me to meet her when I was 15 because he wanted to do something special for me. And here he was, this milkman turned doctor from Pennsylvania who didn't know anything about the entertainment industry, but he basically bribed her agents to have lunch with me.
Oh my God.
And she and I became lifelong friends. We were friends until her death in 2019 as a result of that lunch we had when I was 15 years old.
What?
But my father said to me after that, someday you do something like that for your son. And although I never had children, it said to me, my father's relationship with his dad was so fractured that he was trying to make up for it with me and wanted me to pass it on to my children. Oh. So it's funny. Funny how these things come up.
I'm just saying. Oh, that's beautiful.
So now he's up there with Carol Lynley. He's got her up there now.
That was his whole plan after all of that.
People say to me, oh, and now your mom and dad are together. And I'm like, well, separate clouds.
Wow. So, I hope that, there's somebody listening about that whole journey. I mean, that was back when you told your dad, and that was 90s?
Well, I told my dad in the 80s. I was 23.
23, okay.
So 86. It was October 31st, 1986. It was Halloween.
Oh.
Coincidentally.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mother had a heart attack the same night in Ernie's restaurant on the Upper West Side, and we ended up in the emergency room on Halloween. You can imagine what a shit show a New York City emergency room is on Halloween night. She survived.
Yes. Wow. I mean, I can't imagine what that whole experience is like. I always, I had a friend, and I still have a friend. I mean, he's still around. He, when we were in high school, came out. And it was 1999, and it was a senior project. It was
It was certainly his senior project.
Oh, it was his senior project. And we all kind of knew, like the close group of us, we knew. And I'll never forget it because you had like the clicky group. I was kind of in part of all groups. I always like people. I just love people. So there was like the jock group that, we knew that if he came out, we're like, are the jocks going to, now this is 1999, right? So we're like, oh, are the jocks going to be okay with it? And
that's the year I quit smoking.
Well, there you go. It was a good year. Good for you and my friend. So he gets up. We had theater class together. He gets up and we knew he was going to make an announcement. We didn't know what it was. He gets up there. We're all sitting there, and he says, "I'm gay, and I don't like the color pink. In fact, I think it's an atrocious color." And he would go on and on and on, and it was just such a beautiful way to say it. And I'll be damned. The jocks loved him for it. And it was like, and it was, I think at that time too, and again, like, I'm heterosexual, so I don't know what in the gay community, how it would, like, the timelines and how things were accepted and taboo and not. But at that time, it seemed like things were really starting to be a bit more accepted. I don't know. I was surprised by the group of the jocks being like, yeah, that's awesome. And he was celebrated for it.
Yeah, I think so much of it is contingent on where in the world you are, how much, every person is different, every time is different, every place is different. So you can't just make some blanket assumption. And I hope it all worked out for him.
It did, yeah. He's happy. He's out I think he's out in the West Coast somewhere. I
just never felt like I had to come out and per se, like officially. Yeah. And it was funny too, because on television, I was basically myself, and that would get interesting reactions, especially from viewers in Australia, as it was almost like it was a novelty. The gay American guy who didn't, like, I didn't say anything gay, but I guess they could tell I was gay or assumed I was. And then if I lost too much weight, they would say, he must be dying of AIDS. Like, I was running 20 marathons, and so I was really skinny. If my hair was too short and I was too thin, they just assumed because I was gay, it must be that. Even the executive producer emailed me one morning. He was like, "Mate, are you okay? We're a little concerned about how you look." And I'm like, well, I'm running a marathon before I come into work tomorrow, so maybe that has something to do with it. I'm running 100 miles a week or whatever it was.
Yeah. You got to get those miles in.
I would hear from people that, it's interesting when you're doing morning television, you're in people's homes at a very intimate time of the day.
We see that you're naked and when you change and everything.
They're watching you while they're at their most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Flossing, bathing, getting the kids off to school, or they stick around for my segment because they know when that's over, the kids have to get on the bus or whatever it may be. And so there is an intimacy involved. It's a real privilege to do morning television. It's not like any other television. Mm-hmm. Morning TV is its own beast.
Yeah, it's addicting. It's neat.
And first it started with people naming their pets after me. Then I would get news of, like, I named my son Nelson, or I named my daughter Aspen, or mate, I came out, or, there were a certain section of ladies that liked me, and then there were a certain section of men that liked me. And my boss one day said to me, "Nelson, you've got the 3G appeal. Girls, gays, and grannies."
Oh, jeez.
I was like,
you made it then.
But that's, if that's who you need to buy your product, consume your product, I'm grateful for every G.
Well, speaking of product, because I don't want to run out of time to talk about this. So we talked about, you have the 2 books, Dancing Between the Raindrops. I've read volume 1. I'm halfway, like past the halfway mark in volume 2.
Volume 2, twice as long, twice as dirty.
It is.
And that's Dancing Between the Raindrops, the Hollywood years.
Yeah. So he starts with New York, and then, because again, child of the 80s, I just want to learn about New York. Because here's the thing with these books. You tie in the historical moments. Like you tied in Princess Diana's death, 9/11, you were out in LA, what it was like out there, because I was in Philadelphia, I was in college at the time. So you did a really remarkable job doing all of that.
And all the pop culture references. It's fun because it's not just the historical events, but it's the music of the day, the films of the day.
Yes.
So it's a little time capsule.
So
we got 10 years in New York in the first book, 20 years in LA in the second book, and the third book scheduled for release February January 2026 is called Dancing Between the Raindrops. Happily Ever After? Question mark. Happily Ever. Yeah, go Happily Ever After? Question mark.
Okay.
And that is the most recent years. So that is my trilogy. And for people who aren't familiar with the series, it's like Sex and the City. It's the story of 4 friends, 2 gay guys and 2 women, and it's based on the 4 friends that are, the 4 of us. And we're still friends. Spoiler alert, we're all still alive.
It's so fabulous.
And,
it's so fabulous.
Yeah, it's fun and it's naughty. And
It is naughty, but it's not like really, really raw, like raunchy. There's like touches of raunch, but it's really great.
One reviewer said, a raunchy ride. They describe...
I saw somebody write that.
A raunchy ride through Hollywood or something, I don't know.
It does get your attention, though. I mean, some of the things that really happened.
People love alliteration. There was another one that called it a juicy joyride.
Oh. There were I will tell you, there were times there's certain things I read, I was like, oh my God. It really is fabulous.
And it's all true, toned down. I had to tone it down because it was too incredible. And I changed a lot of names. There are, especially in the Hollywood years and in the third and final installment, Tony Bennett figures into the third installment, my experiences with Tony Bennett. And what's nice is having those interviews on tape. I think in the second book, we've got Betty White and Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I actually went back to my actual interviews with them and quote them verbatim. So their dialogue in the book is actually the dialogue that they said to me.
So why put a book together? Like, why?
Originally, they wanted my memoirs. That was the ask. Would you write your memoirs?
Who asked you?
The publisher.
Really?
And as much as I would like to and flattered to be asked, I'm not sure I could remember it as accurately as I feel it should be told. Mm-hmm. If you're going to write your autobiography, you'd better make sure it's 100%. But I didn't keep diaries. Luckily, I have all my interviews on tape,
so you can go back.
I didn't want to get anything wrong, and I didn't want to get ex-lovers or friends or foes in trouble. So I was like, I will reimagine my life from the third person.
Yeah, so TJ is you.
So TJ, in the first book, he's TJ. In the second book, he's Thomas. And in the third book, he's Tom. And that's kind of an evolution I had. I'm Nelson Jr. So growing up, Nelson's a big name for a little boy. So they called me JR for Junior. My dad was Nelson, and I was JR.
Mm-hmm. Who shot JR?
Well, and here we go. So in 1981, I was going by JR Aspen, and I was doing a production of The Taming of the Shrew with Christopher Walken as Petruchio. Christopher Walken ran into a little trouble, you may recall, with the death of Natalie Wood. Christopher Walken, Robert Wagner, and Natalie Wood were all on the boat together when Natalie Wood tragically perished. So Christopher Walken had to back out of the show for obvious reasons. He was dealing with a lot. They replaced him with Dallas star Patrick Duffy, also known as Bobby Ewing on Dallas. So he came to the cast and he's meeting us all. And I'm like, hello, I'm JR. And of course, everybody back then was saying, who shot you? Because in 1981, the big cliffhanger on Dallas was, who shot JR?
Yeah.
And everybody I met, who shot you? Who shot you? Who shot you? Who shot you? So I meet Patrick Duffy and I'm like, I'm JR. And he looked at me with such disdain and disgust and he sneered at me. And it was like, you've got to be kidding me. And and it was a horrible experience to work with him after that.
Oh.
Guess what? He lost his voice and the understudy had to do it for most of the run anyway. So there.
Karma.
Yeah, well, Mr. TV star couldn't handle the theater, the projecting in the theater. He came back for the last performance with a body mic. Anyway, I decided after that it was time to go by Nelson. So I started using my given name.
Well, I understand about having a popular 80s name.
And
I get it.
And I, when you came to the show and you bought a copy of the book, and I signed it to you, and I misspelled it like Ronald Raegan as opposed to
Yeah.
how you spell it.
Yeah, but you consider me presidential, so I'm okay with that.
I do.
So we have the books. There's another book. How much? I have time. Okay, so there's another book. And this one, and I do love me some Titanic.
And also filthy. It's the dirtiest Titanic book ever written.
Are we surprised at this point in the
first
conversation?
gay Titanic novel. And it's based on my own experiences believing to be reincarnated from a very obscure passenger who passed away on Titanic. Not obscure anymore. I mean, there are thousands of stories of people who sailed on Titanic and perished on Titanic, and the survivors' stories are just as sad as the ones who perished, because you don't get through an experience like that without a tremendous amount of post-traumatic stress, without a tremendous amount of survivor's guilt. I mean, nobody had a happy ending that sailed on that ship. Least of all, my guy, Milton Long. So I wanted to write a story from the point of view, I feel from all the research I've done on Milton Long, which is limited. There's only so much to find out.
And you got in touch and you figured Milton. What's your thread from you to Milton?
Well, there were a lot of coincidences and happenstances that made me identify with him. But the limited facts about his life point to me, forensically, that he was a closeted gay man living in the Edwardian age where you couldn't do that. He dropped out of Columbia. He dropped out of Harvard. His father was a very successful, wealthy judge. He should have had a career, and he did not. His death certificate listed him as a gentleman of leisure. And I think we know of his close friendship that he had with another fellow on Titanic who survived, who ended up taking his own life. So you talk about, what was it an unrequited love? I believe so. So my book, Kindred Spirits, A Titanic Tale, is an imagining. It's a fantasy it tells the true story of Milton and Jack Thayer as it can be told. But I imagine it, what if Milton perished and his soul came to present day New York City, to the same age that he was when he perished, 29. What if he came back as a 29-year-old gay man living in the Manhattan of today and had to solve the mystery of what happened to his unrequited love? So he goes on like a Titanic mystery hunt, a scavenger hunt, if you will, through history, literature, museums. He takes this crazy path through the Titanic fandom. And I'm a tremendous Titanic I call us Titaniacs. I'm a
Oh,
Titaniac.
I like that. Okay.
And I host a podcast with my friend Alexandra Boyd called Titanic Talk, available wherever you get your podcasts. Titanic Talk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We interview authors, historians, fans, explorers. We have over 60 episodes talking with various people in the Titanic community. And I go to Titanic exhibitions, museums, voyages, transatlantic voyages, and I speak on the subject of Titanic. So it's another case of this was always just a hobby. Titanic was a hobby. And now it's a podcast, it's a book, it's my livelihood now. So it's a part of that unscripted turbulence. You don't know where the next, it's not even the next job is, it's the next vocation. You don't know where the next vocation is going to be. And now I'm teaching. I teach at a university about Titanic. I teach at the university about careers in broadcast journalism. And I love it. It's the perfect fit for me.
Wow. You keep revealing layers of yourself. I didn't know that you were a professor too. And so here's a question about the Titanic thing. And I was wondering about this. Do they have a Titanic tour in New York City? Because I went down a rabbit hole one day in the live truck. I don't know how, why, when at all about the Titanic. And I knew that the Titanic was supposed to arrive here in New York. And I know that it's by this
the White Star Line is still there at the pier.
I was telling one of my cameramen and he goes, no. I go, yeah, it was supposed to dock right there. Then I'm thinking, why don't we have anything?
You can take guided tours for Titanic. There's a Titanic lighthouse. There's on the Jane Hotel, the Jane Street Hotel. There's a hotel where the Titanic survivors were housed while they were reunited with their families. At St. John the Divine. There's a stained glass window in memory of John Jacob Astor. In Macy's department store, there are 2 plaques to Ida and Isidore Straus, who owned Macy's, who they famously perished on Titanic. The old couple.
Yeah, that were in the.
She wouldn't go without him, and they died together.
Yeah, they held each other. Well,
in the movie they held each other. Interestingly, his body was recovered, hers wasn't, so they weren't holding on too tight. And if you go to 106th and Broadway, there's beautiful Strauss Park, which is a memorial to Ida and Isidore Straus, right around the corner from where they lived. So it's all in my book. In Kindred Spirits, all the New York locations are listed. But I'm in October of 2026. Now, here's a plug. I didn't even get to this.
Yeah, I know.
I'm leading a tour. Anybody can join. So go on to nelsonaspen.com, travel with Nelson. Everything's there. You can join me. We fly to Dublin and we do a 13-day tour of Ireland that culminates in Belfast. Now, if you've never been to Belfast, that's where Titanic was built. And I had been to Belfast, which was plagued with a lot of political problems for decades. Mm-hmm. And once the Troubles, as they called them, were somewhat rectified, Belfast is now Titanic Town. The definitive Titanic hotel is in Belfast, where Titanic was built. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Really?
And the original design offices where Titanic was designed and built, it's now a gorgeous hotel where I've stayed and had book signings. It looks like 1912, but with a bar.
You're kidding.
It's unreal. So join me. I'm leading the Titanic tour. It's not Titanic per se, but it is Titanic tinged. Uh-huh. So whether you want to talk showbiz or whether you want to talk Titanic, you'll be stuck with me for 13 days going around Ireland. And that's coming up in October 3rd to 13th or 2nd to 13th in 2026. So join me. Please. It's going to be great. And I'm picking some special friends to come along with me. It's open to everyone, but if nothing else, I know I'm going to have my posse there, so we will surely have a fun time.
Are your the 4 of you the
I'm still working on the ones in the book.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess you would be Carrie. So the Samanthas, the Charlottes, and the Miranda.
I don't know. Aren't we all a little bit of all 4 of them?
Oh my gosh! Right. That was a great series. I really enjoyed it.
And then there was the follow-up series.
Yeah, there was a follow-up.
Did you watch And Just Like That? Which was so depressing.
I don't want to. I'm a big Samantha fan, and I
was not the same without her.
You know what? You needed the 4 friends. And I understand what they were doing and opening up the gates to more friends to incorporate. Great, that wonderful. But if you don't have the core 4, I don't know.
I just thought it was and you know what? They could have bumped her character off. It's nice that they didn't. But and people die. Someday your 4 friends will be down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. I mean, that's life.
I know.
But my problem with the follow-up series And Just Like That, and I watched it. I watched every episode.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, because you're the entertainment person. Okay, so I'm going to grab my teeny and you tell me.
But
your thoughts.
I found it depressing because the original series was so joyful that even when bad things happened to the characters, it was a joyful half hour.
Yeah, there was something light about it.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Whereas the follow-up series, and I appreciate they wanted to go in a different direction, and they sure did, and they wanted to address the things that people are dealing with in present times.
Today, yes.
But, I just didn't want to watch my characters that I liked going through hearing loss, bladder control issues, hip problems, dementia, alcoholism. Yeah. It was so... And it wasn't just one depressing theme per episode. It was every character has a disaster happening in their lives in every episode.
Yeah, it was very heavy.
It was very heavy.
Especially when, the first episode, poor Big is on that Peloton and he just down for the count.
And I'm all for, I grew up doing soap operas. So I appreciate the nature of scripting continuing storytelling. I love it. I love continuing storytelling. And you can do anything you want or need to do. And story is usually dictated by costs, actor availability. In soap operas, a lot of people don't realize an actor will have a guarantee. you must use this actor if they're very popular 3 days a week. A less popular, you might, or you're negotiating. Maybe you're really expensive, so your guarantee might only be 1 day a week. That's the only way they can afford you. So they actually, I've sat in the writers' rooms for these shows, and they're writing the story based on the bulletin board, and they're looking at, well, we have to use so-and-so 3 times this week, and we can only use this other one 1 day this week. So they write the story around that.
Oh.
And it's not very creative. Well, you could argue that it's very creative because you have to come up with ways to do it. But it's not as organically story-driven as you may think.
Wah, wah.
Sorry.
Okay. It's all right. No, it's fine. Santa Claus
On today's episode of The Old and the Listless.
Listen, Santa Claus is still real, and so is the Tooth Fairy. All right, so one of my final questions, that I don't want to run out of time with you. So I don't know that...
You've got this much longer.
Oh, yeah, right. my producers in the other room are like, no, you don't. Oh. So you made reference a lot of times to one of my favorite, and if he is listening, please be on this podcast, George Clooney. People thought you looked like George Clooney.
Back in the day.
Did you ever meet him?
Yeah, I interviewed him twice.
How was that?
Once on a red carpet, and he was super, super charming.
Yeah.
Because he's super, super charming. And that's a key that the key to being charming on a red carpet, I learned from the master of red carpet charm, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, he's never late. He arrives right at the moment, and he greets the fans, and he takes the selfies, and it keeps him looking like a hero. It keeps him occupied, and it keeps him away from the press. So the press can't get him. They can't, interrogate him or try and set him up, because people try to do that with Tom Cruise. George Clooney, not so much, but people are always trying to get Tom Cruise.
Because he's a mystery. I feel like
well,
Tom's
good for him. Isn't it nice that there's some mystery left in the world? Anyway, but he's so damn charming that, and then all of a sudden it's time to start the movie, and he runs up the red carpet and basically skips most of the journalists, because and you can't argue with it. He's being kind to the fans. He's taking pictures. He's being Tom Cruise. So George Clooney is similar to that, although he'll stop and talk to journalists. Very charming. And then we did an interview via Zoom, because it was during COVID. Oh. And the only bright side of it was they all feel safer on Zoom, because they're usually in their house or in a hotel room somewhere. So they're more relaxed on Zoom, which is interesting.
Oh, that was weird.
And there are not as many people around fussing with them or signaling to them. And I mentioned to him about, back when he was doing, what was the show with... You take the Facts of Life.
Facts of Life.
He was on Facts of Life. He was on Roseanne. And back in those days is when people say, oh, you look like the guy on Facts of Life and Roseanne. Because I had the black mullet.
Oh, my gosh.
But we had good-natured joking about that. And yeah, he was very charming. He's very charming. I don't know how charming he is in real life.
Yeah, right. As
a star... Undeniably charming.
I will meet him one day, even if it's me saying hello. Is that the thing for you? I think that's it. I think that's...
For me, it was Viggo Mortensen. And Viggo Mortensen was on Search for Tomorrow
really?
at the same time I was. So Viggo Mortensen. I was like, oh, Viggo Mortensen. Yeah. And that's probably the only celebrity I ever interviewed where I was tongue-tied. And
really?
Because I don't...
You're not tongue-tied with me?
But...
I'm just kidding. That's...
But Viggo, I'm like... Viggo, I mean, he's something else. And he's so talented.
Really?
So talented.
Okay. Final question. Hopes and dreams. Where do you want to go from here?
Another martini? The Harvard Club.
We do the Harvard Club. Yes. No, if you're listening.
It's really wonderful. I'm in this wonderful groove of my life now, where we're traveling a lot. We have so many international trips going. I'm doing speaking tours on the Queen Mary 2, and it's a really sweet spot. 2 books coming out in 2026, the final installment of Dancing Between the Raindrops, and my first children's book. It'll be my first non-filthy book. And the publisher was like, do you want to use another name? And I'm like, I absolutely do not. I can write a book for children just as well as I can write a book for adults.
All right, game on.
And that, it will be called The Magnificent Mr. and Mrs. Maple. And that will be coming in 2026.
That's fabulous. Well, let's cheers and clink.
Thank you. Thank you for being the hostess with the mostest.
Absolutely. You're welcome. I know that the bear crawl.
I'm ambidextrous.
Yeah. This is wonderful.
And to you guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting Raegan. She's worth every minute of your time online.
Oh, you're wonderful. Look at that. He's helping to wrap it up. I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much. Bye, friends. Bye, friends. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and keep moving forward. Follow wherever you're listening, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know.